at least the response is AB is back, the best centre in the league. If you consider AJ Wilson a power forward, yeah, easily the best centre. Easily. And to be honest, I think Aaliyah matches up really well to AJ. But we are going to talk a little bit about Aaliyah right here. I'm going to talk about what we can kind of expect to see from her in this game, because I know there's a lot of people that are probably like, oh yeah, Aaliyah's going to go for 20, because that still is, not that it's the prevailing opinion of preseason games, but it is still something that people shouldn't be not only expecting, shouldn't necessarily be wanting to see, but there is always still.
Aliyah Boston finally stepped out of the shadows. After weeks of watching Caitlin Clark redefine the Indiana Fever from the sidelines, the silence has been shattered. The reigning Rookie of the Year is officially back on the floor, but the message she just sent to the rest of the league is what has everyone talking. People were screaming for her to sit out the preseason and play it safe, but Boston had other plans. She saw what Caitlin was doing out there alone and knew she couldn't wait another second to reclaim her spot at the top of the mountain. This isn't just a return to the court, it is a declaration of war against anyone who thought this team belonged to just one person. The dynamic is about to shift in a way nobody expected.
Coming right into the Wings game against a team who, by the way, will hack the shit out of you and hack the shit out of Caitlin. I'm going to talk a little bit about that more in a video later on today. But, well, in a video an hour from now. But basically, the Indiana Fever, the Dallas Wings literally just hacked the shit out of they just hacked the shit out of the Fever. That's all they did. They just grabbed everybody. Didn't matter who it was, whether it was KK, whether it was Caitlin. They literally just two hands grab. Like, maybe you didn't get a full hand in the jersey, but it was like hand check off the ball. It was old WNBA defense, and the refs were like, no, 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 no.
While Boston was sidelined, the Caitlin Clark show went into overdrive. We saw performances that seemed impossible for a rookie, but deep down, everyone knew something was missing. The chemistry between the league's most hyped passer and its most dominant interior force remained a theoretical masterpiece. Now that Aaliyah has been cleared from the injury report, the speculation is over. She watched Clark handle the hacking and the double teams from the bench, and her reaction speaks volumes. The silence wasn't just about her health, it was about her preparing for a total evolution of her game. She isn't coming back as the same player we saw last year. She's coming back to be the missing piece of a championship puzzle that Clark started building in her absence.
Like, maybe you didn't get a full hand in the jersey, but it was like hand check off the ball. It was old WNBA defense, and the refs were like, no, 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 no. We are paying you too much money to injure your stars. We are not paying you $200K anymore. We made a deal in the CBA that if this league does not continue to grow, we are not fucked, but not in a good way. Like, the deal that was signed basically now is that they're kind of fucked. Not as fucked as they would have been if they gave the players offer, but
the injury report used to be a place of anxiety for Fever fans, but Aaliyah's name has officially vanished. It was a weird situation that had people questioning if she was being held back on purpose. Some argued that she should stay out until the regular season, but getting her back for the final preseason game against Nigeria was a calculated move. You can't just drop a superstar into a high-speed offense like Caitlin's without some warm-up laps. Boston needed to see the floor, feel the contact, and remind everyone why she is considered the best center in the league. If you count Aaliyah Wilson as a power forward, there is simply nobody who matches up to Aaliyah's level. She is the mobile, dominant force that this new era of basketball demands right now.
Would like, but the league still has to grow. That being said, Aaliyah, we were seeing with the way again that referees are reffing these games, Aaliyah is going to live on the free throw line this year. Why? Because it is now extremely difficult to guard the pick and roll. Just like the NBA, when they took out the hand checking with the Steve Nash, Amari Stoudemire pick and roll, if you cannot manhandle the screener or the ball handler, if you're not allowed, and that's the one thing is that the hand checking, I think everyone kind of thought the hand checking was going to go, but not only that, they basically took away the rook.
There is a massive debate raging about whether Aaliyah should even be playing these minutes, but the logic is sound. She hasn't played a competitive game with Caitlin Clark since July of last year. Think about that for a second. The most anticipated duo in women's basketball history is basically starting from scratch in terms of real game timing. You can practice all you want, but the speed of a live game is a different animal. Boston knows that every minute she spends on the floor with Clark is an investment in their future dominance. She isn't looking to go for 30 points right away. She's looking for those 4 or 5 perfect pick and roll opportunities that will eventually become the foundation of their entire offensive strategy this season.
Free throw line this year. And I would love to see just a couple of pick and rolls. And then when Caitlin's not on the floor, I don't want to see her walk inside the 3-point line. I want to see 4 to 5 threes from Aaliyah. That's what I want to see. I want to see 4 to 5 threes. I don't care if Aliyah Boston plays 12 minutes. I want 8 shots. 8 to 10 shots minimum. I want her shucking. In any minutes that Caitlin Clark is not on the floor, I want Aaliyah shucking. Like shucking. Shoot a step back for all I care. Go full on Paige Becker's ISO. You can go tween, you can go hezzy tween.
One thing Aaliyah witnessed while she was out was the absolute brutality of WNBA defenses. The Dallas Wings literally hacked the shit out of the Fever in their last meeting. They were grabbing jerseys, hand-checking off the ball, and playing a style of old-school basketball that borderlines on dangerous. It didn't matter if it was the stars or the bench players. They were throwing bodies around like it was a wrestling match. Boston saw how they treated Caitlin, and you can bet she's coming back with a chip on her shoulder. The league is changing, but some teams are still trying to use intimidation to slow down the new generation. Aaliyah is the only one who can provide the physical presence needed to protect her teammates from that kind of treatment.
He's not on the floor. I want Aaliyah shucking. Like shucking. Shoot a step back for all I care. Go full on Paige Becker's ISO. You can go tween, you can go hezzy tween step back. I don't care. Let it fly, Aaliyah. Let it fly. So yeah, what do you guys think? Do you guys think that the Indiana Fever should go and do this? Do you guys think the Indiana Fever realistically should go and play Aaliyah at all? Do you think she should be sitting out still? Because I think there's merit to all of those arguments. I think there is merit to the argument that Aaliyah should just be sitting out, period.
But here is the twist that nobody saw coming. The referees are finally stepping in. The league has realized that they are paying these stars too much money to let them get injured by reckless play. We are seeing a massive shift in how the games are being called. If you try to manhandle a player like Aliyah Boston now, you're going to hear a whistle every single time. The days of climbing over bigs and hacking them in the post are coming to an end. The league signed a CBA that requires growth, and they know that growth stops if the stars are on the bench. Because of this, Aaliyah is going to live at the free throw line this year. It is becoming physically impossible to guard her under these new officiating standards, and that is a nightmare for her opponents.
Like getting her in a couple of minutes in a preseason game is good. It's good to get some reps, especially because her and Caitlin haven't played together in a competitive game since July. Like it's May. It's May. They haven't played together in a competitive game since July. So I think that does matter, and it's something that we're looking at, and we have to look at it in a way of being like, okay, this is something that matters, this is big. And yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. Do you guys think that Aaliyah should be playing or not? And yeah, I'm just excited to see.
The league's financial future is actually tied to Aaliyah and Caitlin staying on the floor. If the WNBA stagnates in revenue, the owners start losing money immediately. There is no room for error anymore. This is why the referees were calling fouls on players like Raven Johnson the second they tried to play that aggressive, hand-checking style of defense. They are paving a golden path for offensive stars to thrive. Aaliyah understands this better than anyone. She knows that her mobility and speed are her greatest weapons in this new environment. She isn't just a back-to-the-basket post player anymore. She is a fast, versatile threat who can exploit any defender who dares to get too physical. The era of the bully ball center is being replaced by the era of Aliyah Boston.
I know Lexi's not playing. I talked about this earlier in a video earlier that I'm actually scared that with how Raven Johnson's playing, that Lexi could potentially find herself back in the team as the third player off the bench, the 8th man, and paying your 8th man $800k is a lot of money. And to be completely honest, I don't know if Mo Billings will start. There's a world where the Indiana Fever paying $1.5 million or paying $1.6 million next year to 2 bench players. That's a very likely world we live in. So yeah, that is the video. See you guys.
What Aaliyah said about her return was subtle, but the implications are huge. She isn't just coming back to occupy space, she is coming back to let it fly. There's a growing expectation that we are going to see a version of Boston that takes 4 or 5 threes a game. When Caitlin Clark is off the floor, the coaching staff wants Aaliyah to go full ISO mode. We're talking about step-back jumpers and heavy tween setback moves that you'd normally see from a guard like Paige Buchers. They want her to be a high-volume shooter who can carry the scoring load by herself. Imagine a world where the best center in the league is also a legitimate threat from behind the arc. That is the unbelievable evolution that has been happening behind closed doors. The preseason minutes might be low, maybe only 10 or 15 per game, but the impact will be massive. I don't expect her to outplay the deep bench players in terms of total time, but I expect every second she's out there to be high intensity. The Fever are currently paying a lot of money for their roster, with some bench players potentially making $800,000 next year. When you have that much capital tied up in your 8th or 9th player, your starters have to be flawless. Aaliyah knows the pressure is on. She's watching players like Lexi Hull fight for their spots, and it reminds her that even the top stars have to keep evolving. The competition within the team is just as fierce as the competition against the rest of the league. The return of AB is exactly what the fans needed to see after the roller coaster of the last few weeks. There were people genuinely worried that her absence would stunt the team's growth right as the Caitlin Clark hype train was leaving the station. But seeing her cleared and ready to play against Nigeria proves that the Fever are playing the long game. They aren't rushing her, but they aren't hiding her either. She's coming back into a team that has already faced the fire and survived. The hacking she saw from the sidelines was a wake-up call for the entire organization. They realized that they can't just rely on skill. They need to be ready for a war every single night. Aaliyah is the general they've been waiting for to lead them into that battle. When you look at the way the game is being played now, it's clear that the pick and roll is the ultimate weapon. In the NBA, when they took out hand checking, players like Steve Nash and Amare Stoudemire became unstoppable. We are seeing that exact same shift in the WNBA right now. If you can't manhandle the screener or the ball handler, you are at the mercy of the offense. Caitlin Clark is already a master at finding the open lane, but adding Aliyah Boston as the screener makes that play impossible to defend. If the defense switches, Aaliyah will maul them in the paint. If they don't switch, Caitlin will bury a 3. It's a pick your poison scenario that Aaliyah is ready to exploit for 40 minutes a night once the real games begin. The silence from Aaliyah's camp during her recovery was actually a sign of focus. She wasn't interested in the social media noise or the debates about her fit with the new roster. She was focused on the reality of the league's new growth model. She knows that for the owners to make money and for the players to get the deals they want, the product on the floor has to be elite. That means no more sloppy, overly physical play that ruins the flow of the game. It means high-scoring, fast-paced basketball, where the best athletes are allowed to shine. Boston is the poster child for this transition. She has the IQ to understand the business side, and the talent to execute the on-court strategy. She is the bridge between the old guard and the new era. Some fans are still skeptical, wondering if she's truly 100%, but the way she's been moving in practice suggests she's better than ever. She's been working on her conditioning to handle the increased pace that Caitlin Clark brings to the table. Last year's Fever team was a different animal. This year, they are a track team. Aaliyah has had to transform her body and her mindset to keep up. She isn't just a post anchor anymore. She's a rim runner who can transition from defense to offense in the blink of an eye. The unbelievable part of her return isn't just that she's healthy, it's that she has adapted her entire game to fit a style of play that didn't even exist in Indiana 12 months ago. The Dallas Wings game was a turning point for this team's identity. Seeing your teammates get grabbed and held without consistent calls is frustrating, but it also builds toughness. Aaliyah watched that game with a focused intensity. She saw how the defense tried to get into Caitlin's head by being extra physical. When Boston steps back onto that court, she isn't just playing basketball. She's providing a security blanket for the most targeted player in the world. Her presence alone changes how defenders approach the Fever. You can't just hack the shit out of a team when Aliyah Boston is standing right there, ready to punish you on the other end. She is the equalizer that this roster desperately needed to find. Looking ahead, the expectations for Aliyah are sky high. People aren't just looking for double-doubles anymore, they are looking for triple-double potential. With her passing ability and her newfound willingness to shoot from the perimeter, she could easily become the most versatile center in WNBA history. The coaching staff is encouraging her to be selfish when the situation calls for it. They want her to take those 8 to 10 shots minimum, even in limited minutes. They want her to prove that she is an offensive engine, not just a secondary option. The silence has been broken, and the sound that's replacing it is the roar of a player who knows she's about to take over the league alongside a generational talent. There's also the looming shadow of the salary cap and roster construction. The Fever are in a unique position where they are paying high prices for their depth. When you have bench players making nearly $1 million, every roster spot is under a microscope. Aaliyah knows that her performance sets the tone for the entire salary structure. If she plays like an MVP, the investment in the rest of the team makes sense. If she struggles, the critics will come for the front office. But Boston has never been one to shy away from pressure. She thrives in it. She's used to being the centerpiece, and she's ready to show that she is worth every penny and every bit of the hype that has surrounded her return. The chemistry gap is the only real concern left. Since they haven't played together in a competitive setting since last July, there will naturally be some growing pains. But that's why this preseason return was so vital. Aaliyah needed to feel Caitlyn's passes in a real game environment. She needed to see how the defense reacts to Clark's gravity and find the soft spots in the zone. It's a chess match, and Aaliyah is one of the smartest players in the game. She doesn't need months to figure it out. She just needs a few reps. The unbelievable performance Clark put on in her absence was just a preview. The real show starts when the two of them are finally clicking on all cylinders together. The league's shift away from hand checking is going to benefit Aaliyah more than perhaps any other player. When you're as mobile as she is, being untouchable is a massive advantage. Defenders used to rely on leaning on her and using their offhand to impede her movement. Now, that's an automatic foul. This allows her to use her footwork to dance around slower centers. She's going to make veteran defenders look silly this year. We saw it with the way Raven Johnson was called for fouls just for trying to stay close to her assignment. The rules are written in Aaliyah's favor now, and she is smart enough to exploit every single one of them to her advantage. The free throw line is about to be her second home. The internal team dynamics are also shifting. With players like Lexi Hull potentially moving to the bench as the 8th man, the rotation is becoming elite. The Fever are building a squad that can compete with the powerhouses like the Aces and the Liberty. But it all starts and ends with Aliyah Boston. She is the culture setter. Her return brought a sense of calm to the locker room that was missing during the height of the injury speculation. She is the veteran leader in a young player's body. Her breaking her silence wasn't just about a post-game interview, it was about her presence in the huddle and her command of the floor. The Indiana Fever are finally whole again, and the rest of the league should be very afraid. I want to see Aaliyah go full ISO. I want to see the step backs, the crossovers, and the confidence to take over a game. We know she can play the traditional role, but the unbelievable part of this new era is her versatility. If she can truly become a threat from the arc, it opens up the entire floor for Caitlin Clark to drive. It creates a spacing nightmare that no coach in the league has an answer for. Imagine having to guard a pick and roll where both players can shoot from 30 feet and both players can finish at the rim with elite efficiency. That's not just a basketball team, that's a glitch in the system. Aaliyah is ready to be that glitch, and she's starting right now. The conversation around her being the best center is only going to get louder. While A'ja Wilson is a force of nature, Aaliyah's game is evolving in a direction that is perfectly suited for the modern WNBA. She is the prototype for the next generation of bigs. She is fast, she is smart, and she is increasingly dangerous from every spot on the floor. Her return to the lineup isn't just good for the Fever, it's good for the sport. It raises the level of competition and forces every other team to rethink their defensive strategies. You can't just hack your way to a win anymore. You have to actually play basketball, and nobody plays it better or more intelligently than Aliyah Boston does. As we move into the regular season, the focus will remain on how she and Caitlyn coexist. The preseason was just a tease, a glimpse into a future that looks incredibly bright for Indiana. Aliyah's return has settled the nerves of a fan base that was teetering on the edge of panic. She proved that she is healthy, she is focused, and she is ready to embrace the madness that comes with playing alongside the most famous rookie in history. The silence is gone, replaced by the sound of swishing nets and a cheering crowd. Aliyah Boston is back, and she is making sure everyone knows that the Indiana Fever are no longer just a young team with potential, they are a problem. In the end, Aliyah's return is the final piece of the puzzle. She saw the unbelievable things Caitlin Clark was doing and decided it was time to join the party. The league is growing, the rules are changing, and the spotlight has never been brighter. Boston is stepping into that light with more confidence than we've ever seen. Whether she's shooting threes or dominating the paint, she is doing it on her terms now. The silence was necessary for her to prepare for this moment, but now that she's back, her game is doing all the talking. Get ready, because the Aliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark era has officially begun, and it's going to be even more unbelievable than we ever dared to imagine.